So I wanted to redo this. What do you call that? The H frequency video that I have on YouTube, which is hilariously uh, amateurish. Uh, this is that 1341 I've been working on. It actually looks pretty good at first blush. However, when you hit underscan, what you'll see is that you can see the white bar of the reference monoscope on this side, and you can't see it on this side. It's actually supposed to be the opposite based on the service manual, so this thing's all messed up. So hopefully I can illustrate some of those things real quick without making this a 10-minute video. Alright, so first thing is we're going to short the sync separator with this capacitor. I actually soldered the little legs onto the cap. On these 40 series monitors, the speaker cable has the same socket as the horizontal frequency jig. So if you had a junk one, you could harvest that connector off the speaker wire and build the same thing, and it would be cleaner and be easier to insert, and you wouldn't have to worry about getting the polarity wrong and all that stuff. So, but this is fine. Kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Here we go. So here's the sync separator. This is the little jig that shorts pin 1 to ground, which is essentially what we're going to do with this capacitor. It's interesting because it asks for a certain kind of capacitor. I'm not sure how important that is. I mean, this one's, what is that? 100 microfarad. And it's probably 25 volts, which is probably more than it even asked for. It probably asked for 16, but I don't have 16 in stock, so I'm not going to bother buying special ones. All right, so I can actually, there we go. So now we got that installed right here. That's good. Let's go back to zoom out, and what we'll see here is the screen's all messed up. Now the screen's all messed up because the horizontal oscillator is basically out of sync with the signal frequency. Now the signal frequency is reference. It's exactly 15,734, whatever it is. So doing this allows the system to align itself to that exact horizontal frequency. If I can remember which one of these is that adjustment. Which one is the adjustment? I don't remember. Let's zoom in and find out. It's one of these two. It's the yellow one or the blue one, but I can't remember which one it is. I think that's V blank back there, so we're not going to miss that. I think it's this one, so we're going to put this guy here. And, yeah, see? So I just turned it a little tiny bit. Let me zoom out. Turned it a little tiny bit, and it's already behaving differently, so that's good. Let's get that screwdriver in there. I am using a ceramic screwdriver because so you can tell it changes directions. It slants one way, and then it straightens out, and then it slants the other way, and that is your indication that you're going too far, something like that. See, that's ideal. That's just about the best you're going to hope for. It's straight. It's moving a little bit, but it's not bad. So now you've aligned the horizontal oscillator in the sync separator with exact NTSC horizontal frequency. That's good. So we're going to take this guy out. Okay, we're done with him. It's literally all this work for like a 2-second adjustment. Now, the reality of what's happened here is that when I was messing with it earlier, this number 1 hash mark, which is about 1/4 of a frame. When I say frame, it's a sort of, I wouldn't say it's a technical term or maybe an industry jargon term for how the 4x3 screen is divided into a certain number of squares, right? So this one's 6x8. You could further divide that by 12 and 16. So when Sony's talking about frame overscan in their service manuals, they're talking about fractions of a single frame, but the frame is, this subdivided again by 4 more, right? So it's 12 by 16. On this monitor, they want 15.75 frames visible. So if the whole monoscope all the way across is 16, and this one's 8, but we're just going to cut that in half. It wants 1/4 of a frame. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one whole frame. We want 1/4 of that, but we want that much overscan on both sides. So you would want to be able to see basically between 0 and 1 on both sides. Now, before I made that adjustment in the back, this 1 was basically touching the edge of the visible area, right? But now it's moved over a little bit. That's fine. That's a lot of the reason why people confuse horizontal frequency adjustments with horizontal center. On this monitor, there's actually 3 stages of centering the picture. Horizontal frequency is the first one, video phase is the second one, and then horizontal center, there's an actual horizontal center that you do last. So you can tell this one's off because this is on 2, this is less than 1. That's not good. We're going to fix that. Now, go back to the underscan. Here's the interesting thing. This is one of the things I've been talking about for a while, and I haven't had a chance to illustrate it. Monoscope has this white border. That's part of the design. That's fine. That's everything inside, including the white border. That's 100% NTSC video area, right? If you look at the other side, you can see that the picture literally looks like it's like curving away, right? The one's sort of like disappearing over a horizon, like on the Super Nintendo Konami shooter X-Lay, right? Like it has that Mode 7 like scrolling like horizon. That's what it looks like, that, right? It's disappearing. Now, the second adjustment is called video phase. And the technical definition for video phase is that you're aligning the negative sync pulse of the video signal with the flyback pulse. That way, when you're in between frames of video and the system is resynchronizing itself to that sync pulse, you're not actually drawing a picture. That's precisely when you would want the flyback to energize and clean the screen. So if those are out of sync, I think you see how clean this is on this side and how warped and weird it is on this side. What you're seeing there, I think, is literally the video signal being sucked up into the flyback pulse, basically. So we're gonna make a little adjustment here. If I can remember which one's video phase. You think I'd have this memorized? I don't have this memorized. I'm not a smart person. I'm just persistent. So that's probably the center. I think Yeah, I should look at my, well, technically what I should do is look at my original service manual, because at least I'm cool like that. I might be in a total closet here, but let's check it out. See, 10 minutes. 10 minutes and I still haven't even gotten started. It's very funny. If I sound weird, it's because I'm holding the ceramic screwdriver with my lips. There we go. That's the good news. All right. That's the... There we go. So there we go. Okay, so V center, H blank is below it. And then video face is right next to that. That's good. All right. So that's this one, this one, this one. So we got that in place. Hopefully you can see what happens. Oh, look, it's the white border. What's that doing there? See? And it's gone over here. That's also why video phase gets confused for horizontal center sometimes too. I mean, you can use it to center, but sort of on accident, we'll say. So I think you want this to just start to disappear. Just like that. Now, I think I need to tweak H blank. Let's move this back where I can see it real quick. Well, actually, let's... There we go. That's a little bit smaller so we can sort of see what we're doing. H blank will literally make that disappear, right? Because basically you don't want to waste time drawing stuff that you shouldn't be seeing. If you get too close to the edge of the tube, then the electrons will bounce off the edge of the tube and cause all kinds of problems. Now, according to the service manual, I think you're supposed to leave that there. It says adjust H blank. Yeah. Make to blink the vertical line of the white frame of the Moscow. I think it means not completely gone, but touching it, right? So that's too far, obviously. And then we're out past that. We want it to just start to something like that. That's fine, because I want to be right there touching that. Now we're going to go back to video phase, and we're going to move this. I think, what does that say? Video phase, screen phase adjustment, equalize the width of the white frame of the monoscope signal on both sides of the screen, left and right. So the idea is that you've blanked it on this side just enough to touch it, right? And then we're going to adjust the phase so that you can see an equal amount of the white on both sides, which is very actually quite tricky. Turn up the brightness so you can see. It's actually out beyond, if you think about it, it's actually out beyond. That's good. All right, let's reset that. We don't want to get into that. So with it blanked, you know, a certain amount, there we go. So it's about the same on both sides, right? I mean, certainly as close as it needs to be on this little bit of a CRT. Now, the centering stuff is universal for underscan and overscan, doesn't make any difference. But we've done H frequency, we've done video phase, right? Now we're going to hit underscan, get out of there. Where are we at? We're still very close to 1 on this side, not as close to 1 on this side. So what we're going to do is go hunting for the big fat boy. This is partly why everyone else uses H frequency and video phase improperly, is because they're scared. Where are you? They're scared of that guy right there. That big flathead plastic guy. It's close to the flyback. It's close to big transistors. That might actually be the hot there, I'm not sure. But, you know, if you're not careful, it's going to jump out and something else is going to jump out and bite you while you're trying to adjust it. So you do have to be careful. Don't be sloppy. At least not as sloppy as me. Let's get out of here. I'm going to reach around. Get that in there like that. That's good. Now, you want to be sure that it's good. You can increase horizontal size a little bit. Get the 1 just right where it's touching. And is it touching just on the other side? That's good. Let me go back to 0, basically. We wouldn't want to go to 0. We don't want to have that much visible. Technically, that's correct. We're about halfway between 0 and 1 on both sides. So now horizontal frequency, horizontal phase, video phase, and horizontal center are all set up correctly. Now, just another word of warning. It's the same warning I gave before. This only really works properly with a real NTSC signal. If you perform this with a video game signal, like a Super Nintendo, whose frequency is already shifted, you know, away from NTSC center, and you by definition make the center based on the Super Nintendo, which I think you could do, and if you only had a Super Nintendo or other, you know, 256 pixel wide like style systems, like some modes on PS1, regular NES. I think there's a mode for it in TurboGrafx, if I'm not mistaken. There's a Master System, and then there are 256 modes, I think, for some Genesis games, and just not the 320. All that stuff will look fine. But what'll happen is, if True Center is based on the Super Nintendo and you put a Genesis on there, it's going to be hilariously off-center, and you're not going to be able to do much about it. If you have this set correctly so that it's centered on NTSC Video Center exactly right, Super Nintendo will be a little bit to the left, Genesis will be a little bit to the right, and it's really not going to be that big of a deal. Most of the time when people have a big issue with one of them or the other being way off center, it's because all of these things are out of whack. And getting it right helps all your systems look better.